Hello, good afternoon, good evening, or wherever the hell you are in the world, and welcome to SciTrek, your sci-fi TV and movie channel. And Mike just called me the boss. I like Mike. Hey. Matthew doesn't call me the boss. Matthew.
If you're on my channel, you're going to call me the boss.
No. I'm in charge. Yeah, I get no respect from everybody else off SciTrek.
Oh, what have you done? Why have you not gotten the respect then? What have you said?
They call me names. They're mean to me. But we are here. We're going to talk about Star Trek, and I apologize. The video keeps appearing and reappearing. I've had to delete it twice because of technical issues that are my own damn fault. But yeah, I'm an idiot. What are you going to do? But anyway, how are you, sir? Are you all right? Are you ready to go?
All right, thank you. Yeah, I'm great. It's nice to catch up with you and sort of talk about all things Trek. And we had an idea about comparisons, didn't we? So tell us more about how you want this to go.
Well, I'm going to run the little intro and then we'll get into it. It's only Dave. Dave, there's a couple of people. We started early, mate. So thank you for being here and waiting for us. But yeah, we started early. So my thinking was I was watching something that basically was talking about the very classic episode, The Pale Moonlight from Deep Space Nine.
Oh, great episode.
It was just talking about that. And I'm just sat there thinking, that was a great episode. That was an instant classic episode. And people are still talking about it 20 years later. Brain Pain, how you doing, sir?
25 years later, actually, I think it is.
Well, yeah. And I just got thinking, are there episodes of New Trek that people will be talking about in 20 years' time? And I honestly, hand on my heart, think no. I actually don't think there are any at all. But I'm open to have the conversation, and I think I found two episodes that maybe we can put into the conversation, and there's Picard season 3 that I think we have to put into the conversation. But first of all, how about we talk about a couple of episodes that I'm actually comparing New Trek to?
Sure. Okay.
Does that work? Bob, the Star Trek DVD is a commentary admitting that they wanted to bend Trek toward the Star Wars crowd and its short attention spans. Well, that worked. So yeah,
I can see that.
Really worked. And Star Wars and Star Trek are very different. And
I love both, by the way. I've always said this, but they are very, very different beasts. Very, very different sort of things.
In no particular order. I'm going to start with Star Trek: The Next Generation. So let's throw a few episodes out that I think are instant classics. And I've done double episodes, single episodes, doesn't matter.
Okay.
So I'm going to throw the first one out there, The Best of Both Worlds. And for me, that was the episode that catapulted Star Trek: The Next Generation from good to brilliant.
I agree.
I mean, have you ever really seen anything like that before when it came out?
It was strange because when it did come out, it was I think I managed to see both episodes, part 1 and part 2. Rather than the States, you had to wait about 4 months when it was released. I think it was about 1990. It came out, part 1 and part 2. And I think you're right. When you first watched it, and it was the stakes were suddenly so big and so serious that it just kind of, as you say, it just put the series after that on a new level. And I think even after that, the episodes, when you rewatch it, you just saw how well written and how well acted it was, and the stakes in what were involved. That, as you say, it was just a whole new level. And I think the Next Generation from that point onwards, even though season 3 was really starting to do well, yes, this Enterprise was a good one, The Offspring was another good one. Best of Both Worlds was where we thought, okay, this is where they've really got their act together. The actors all know what they're doing. They're all comfortable with their roles. And after the shaky first couple of seasons, this is where we want Star Trek to be.
I mean, for me, in the first season, the only really episode that I think touches on, and I don't think it's a great episode, but it's a bloody good episode, was Conspiracy.
Oh, the aliens with the blue gills and
I love that because it's Star Trek not being very Star Trekky. Captain Picard and Will Riker standing there going, "Ooh, aliens! Kill!"
It's a bit like Invasion of the Body Snatchers or something.
It was
kind of
But such a brilliant episode.
Yeah, it was. And also, I remember, I think that when it was first shown on BBC Two, it was like edited for the scene where Remic's head gets blown up with the phaser.
They banned it in the UK.
Yeah, they did it. I don't think they banned it. I thought he edited it.
And then
I think they edited it.
So they edited the chunk out. Initially, it was banned. Initially, they said you can't show that. It's too
really?
scary.
I didn't know that.
And then they were allowed to show it, but they had that ed bit cut out. So it was the bit where his actual face. Hi Laura, how you doing? The bit where his face actually like melts off. They cut that out,
and the little thing comes out of the neck. Yeah.
And they kill. I like it.
With season 1, I liked Data Law when we first met Law. I thought that was quite a good episode.
That was a good episode, yeah.
And I quite like when No One Has Gone Before, where they literally go where no one's gone before, and like they went to a place. I quite like that one. I thought that was quite good.
Roddenberry episode for me. This is look, we are going to say that there's a lot of opinion going on here, and there's so I think there's certain episodes I think people don't argue about that are brilliant, and those are the ones we want to focus on. Best of Both Worlds, I think, is definitely one of those episodes. Nobody argues. Brilliant episode, and if you do argue, you're wrong. So, but a couple of other episodes for me. Go original Star Trek for a second. We'll go proper old school.
Okay.
Tribbles. Everybody knows that episode. Everybody pretty much loves that episode. Everyone can name at least 2 or 3 bits in that episode. If you're
it's green. Yes.
Yeah, you've seen it, haven't you? And I would argue again that was an instant classic when it came out, but it's still one of the only few original series episodes. That The City on the Edge of Forever.
Yeah,
brilliant.
That was a good one.
I'm not sure it's got a title, but one with the black and white faces. That was a great episode.
Let This Be Your Last Battlefield.
There you go. And there's a couple of others
Doomsday
as well.
Machine is one of my favorites.
Doomsday Machine was great episodes. So I think those were truly brilliant.
The top tier of classic Trek.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, 100%. I would argue actually that those are the shows we should be comparing New Trek to.
Oh, it's quite tough, isn't it? Yeah, okay.
From a story point of view, from an impact point of view, they should have a similar impact. I know maybe it was easier back then, but I mean, we'll compare it to the Next Generation episodes because it's easy as well. So the Best of Both Worlds we mentioned. Peak Performance, I think was a brilliant episode. That's
the one with the is that one where they had like another Stargazer and it was like Riker was taking command? Which one was it? Yeah, it was that one.
Yeah. So they have to do a battle simulation because they're preparing.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it was that one.
Yeah. So they have to do the battle situation. A Ferengi turns up, and we do the Ferengi are very capable fighters at that point. And yeah, I mean, we saw Riker in a different light. We saw Picard in a different light. It's one of those episodes that made us think. I think the vessel you're on about was it Hathaway or something like that?
No, Hathaway was in season 4. I can't remember what it's called now. Maybe it was Hathaway. Yes, it was. The Britannia was the one in season 4. They're both Constellation class starships. Yes, it was. Yep. Sorry, I get really geeky with my ships. You're right, it's Hathaway.
No, yeah, and so you should. Sir. And then for me, the most memed Star Trek episode ever. An idea where I'm going with this?
I need a bit more.
There are 5 lights.
Oh God! Chain of Command. Yeah.
Chain of Command is probably the most memed episode, and actually, I mean, I would put that. It might be my favorite Star Trek episode. Full stop.
Well, didn't you see that as also like a precursor to the beginning of Deep Space Nine? It was the first time we saw that. It was literally like the pilot of Deep Space Nine. Yeah.
And there's another episode of Deep Space Nine that I think is very, very similar in the way it impacted. But when we watched that episode,
oh God, yeah,
the impact of it. I mean, I remember Conway going. I mean, Patrick Stewart.
This is why, because Patrick Stewart has always been one of the best captains and one of the best actors to feature on Star Trek, in my opinion. and this is where we really put him to the test. It was the worst thing since Locutus of Borg for him, for his character.
Yeah.
And who was Gull? Is it Gull Massett? Who's the actor?
Yeah.
Well-known actor. I can't think of him.
He's one of those actors. No, he passed away a couple of years
ago.
ago.
And he's been in everything. He's great.
He was in Star Trek loads as well.
Gorkon. No, he didn't play Gorkon. Yeah, he played Gorkon. Yeah, he was great as well. So I thought that was a really, really good two-parter. And as I say, it was a link to DS9, which gave it a bit more. It was. I think it was shown about a month or two before Deep Space Nine's pilot, and it was just like, okay, these are the Kardashians. These are the first time you really see just how bloody awful they are.
Yeah.
And it worked. Very good.
And I mean, the Federation didn't really consider the Kardashians a threat necessarily, but all of a sudden they were.
They have been at war. They have been at war before.
They were a weaker enemy.
Yeah.
I don't think they were considered a nuisance, perhaps. I mean, obviously it was more of a nuisance because of the border and the way the border thing. We had to change. Then we had the Maquis, and I think they didn't want to war because they don't like war. But they weren't as the Romulans and the Klingons were the threat, and all of a sudden, though, the Cardassians were there going, actually, no, these guys are
really bad. Yeah, these are yeah. Exactly.
But the acting from Patrick Stewart in that episode was just
I'm trying to think the actor who played him because I really like him.
I can picture his face, but I can't tell you his name. No, he's one of those actors that everyone knows his face, but no one knows his name.
And Ronnie Cox was in it, who of course appeared in Stargate as Edward Jellicoe. He played the captain from Hell, didn't he?
He came the captain that was brought in.
Yes. Oh, well, Cox is great.
He was again one of the most hated characters in Star Trek, and it was not fair because he was brilliant.
He was just a by the books captain.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was really good.
So I think that's the episode. But the episode that I think is most like that from the other two seasons, because I don't think Voyager ever quite reached that height. They had some good episodes, and we'll talk about
when we get there, I'll tell you what ones I think did reach quite a high height, but we'll follow your lead.
They got into the great, but never quite got that Champions League. My God, this is this is like you'll
I've got one or two I think did get there, but we'll get there. Fair enough.
The Pale Moonlight with Deep Space Nine is the other episode that I think is very similar in impact to the thing I just said, Chain of Command. In the impact, we saw Cisco in a very different light. The story was very clever, and the way they broke down the fourth wall. You watch the episode and you just sort of sit there for a second and go, "Wow."
So, I mean, obviously, this is the episode where Cisco is like living in the 1950s, isn't he? And he's is that the one?
No, it's
no. This is the one with the Romulans. This is
the Romulans. They want to try to bring the Romulans into the Dominion War.
And it was Senator Renack. Sorry, for some reason I think it was. Now, this was a very clever episode because, as you say, Cisco in this episode, he knows he's got to get dirty to get the Romulans involved. And the one person he knows that he can get involved and actually really help is plain simple Garrick.
Yeah.
And so what I like about this episode is that he starts off with this idea of, right, we've got to bring the Romulans into the war. And it just gets more and more out of control. And Garrick has this idea of planting a bomb on the Romulan ship and of course he has got this data chip which looks like it's some sort of hidden meeting with the Dominion where they think about actually starting the war with Romulus. And the way they do it is so good. It's so powerful. And Cisco, he starts off the episode with like this log. He said, I've just done something, and the way they do it, and in the end, he just deletes the log. It's classic.
Yeah, delete computer, delete log.
Yeah.
And the way he's talking down the screen, he's got his drink there, and I like he's seriously a great actor again, seriously intense. I've forgotten Benjamin Sisko's. I do know the actor's name. Avery Brooks, thank you. And yeah, he really showed his acting skill there, and it was a phenomenally good episode. Like I said, there are a handful of these episodes that literally, when the credits run, you just have to sit there and just go, and you just have to like absorb what you've seen for a second.
What was the episode with Cisco where? Because I confused it with this name of this episode where he thinks he's living in the 1950s and he's writing. Yeah, and he's writing as Benny Russell, but I just can't think of the name of the episode because I thought that was pretty. That was quite that was another episode where all the actors are. It's like a fourth wall. And like you see, like
it's so woke now because it's all about racism and things as well, wasn't it?
Yeah. But that again. I know it's not.
Well
maybe
done.
It was a high tier one, maybe not the highest, but that's the one I thought was another powerful one.
I thought there was a really. If we're talking about good episodes, I actually think Deep Space Nine. Honestly, hand on heart, think Deep Space Nine was the best of the three. I'm not going to include Enterprise in that. I'm afraid it just isn't. But Voyager, TNG, and Deep Space Nine are they
your top three?
Star Trek for me.
Okay.
And Deep Space Nine is just a little bit. But I loved the Dominion Wars. I just loved it. And when Deep Space Nine was good, it was good sort of thing. I preferred the characters in TNG. I won't lie. And I preferred 7 of 9 in Voyager. Jerry Ryan. Hello.
I was more of an Esri Dax sort of person. So.
Oh no! I
like a bit of Nicole DeVore.
I didn't mind Dax, but I guess I'd go with Dax.
I'd be thinking of what's that thing? There's Red
Dwarf. I'd go with Wilma, but I'd be thinking of Betty.
Betty, yeah, that's from Red Dwarf. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking about. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, our American cousins won't get that reference at all. But oh my god, that was a good episode of Red Dwarf.
Backwards that episode, but yeah.
Yeah, that and back. Oh, back was great.
That's
but so yeah, they're these are episodes that go beyond that. So okay, then Voyager. What episodes are you thinking about are in that top tier? Because actually, I loved 7-9 came in Voyager. I thought it was great.
One of my favorites is the Year of Hell.
It is a good episode.
I thought the Year of Hell was really powerful because a lot of people before and after the series ended, or continuing as it was being made, were saying, "Well, how come Voyager never kind of like deteriorates? How come you never sort of see it with a scraped hull and like it just looking deteriorated, and it was always fixed at the end of each episode and back to normal?" This episode, which I believe was originally planned to be a whole season arc rather than a two-parter, just shows just what happens when their backs are against the wall and they're in a situation they just can't get out of. I love Kurtwood Smith as Anarax. I think he's a great actor. I've seen him in lots of things. I think all the cast really, sort of like raised the bar. I think that's one of my favourite episodes or two-parters of Voyager. I think that was...
I'm a massive fan of that. I liked Scorpion. Scorpion was a particular favourite.
The Borg one with Species April 72, yeah.
Out of those 3 seasons, or even Enterprise, we can throw Enterprise into this as well. Out of the Brannon Braga period, what was the best finale? Who had the best finale?
What, season finale or series finale? Oh, what's the best? I don't know. I should say Scorpion was a season finale. That was a pretty good one.
Oh, sorry. Finale. The last.
Yeah, so you mean a series finale? Sorry. Okay. Finale. Well, All Good Things, of course, was a really, really wonderful way to end the Next Generation. And some of that last scene when they were playing poker was again mirrored at the end of the Picard season 3, which was a lovely touch. The Dominion end of war in DS9, I think that was pretty good. There was a lot of space battles. It was all wrapped up. Cardassian was pretty much destroyed. Garrett got home.
That wasn't the season finale. That wasn't. Sorry, it wasn't. So you had the 2 episodes that wrapped all the Dominion War up. The actual last episode was the bit between him and Gulda Kutt.
It was
The war ended in the last episode. The very last episode was Cisco versus Gulda Kutt.
Okay. So maybe I think what you're saying is I think there's a version where the last 2 episodes have been made into a finale. It's like a stretch thing.
The last 3 episodes were the double episode when the Dominion War ended and the Dominion were defeated, and then Cisco returned to Deep Space Nine, and Gulda Kutt had got the.
And then had the last battle with the
humans, and that's when, because Cisco doesn't return, does he? He doesn't come back from that.
No, he's now the last episode. All right, fair enough. I can't remember. It's been a long time. I thought they were together, but fair enough. Yeah, I liked it. I don't know, quite frankly, because I did like the end of the Dominion War if it's the previous episode. So, but the last episode,
well, it's the last 3 episodes, so it doesn't really make much difference, really. But
it was all right. I mean, I think it was good. It wrapped up everything well, and actually, season 7, the Dominion arc, had the last 10 episodes were all linked together, which was actually good. What's this? Oh, it definitely was not. Okay, we'll go with the Enterprise finale. Yeah, because everyone hates the.
We'll talk about that in a second, but yeah, I think it was Voyager's. I think Voyager's last 2 episodes was absolutely brilliant. Destroying Unimatrix Zero, fighting the Borg again. It was a good Borg episode. And it actually wrapped up the story arc really well, because there was a big rumor they're not going to get home. They're going to leave it on a finale. And maybe
I'm glad they didn't do that.
And blah, blah, blah.
Well, no, actually, I mean, would you have preferred that? Would you have liked it if it was sort of ended that they're hopeful they could get home? And they've got a good way of potentially getting home, but they didn't get home. Would you have preferred it that way, or the way they did it?
I liked it the way it was, and I think by the time they realised they weren't getting the movie as well, which helped. But I like that, because I actually genuinely I will watch it occasionally, and I still go get in when they explode and they come out of the sphere, and I'm like,
the sphere blows up. Yeah.
It's like that. It was a nice. How often do we actually get a nice finale to a series that makes sense? How often does that happen? Not as often as it should.
My problem with the finale of that series is it just felt a bit rushed at the end. We see them, and it's a shame. Janeway says something like, "We did it," and then they sort of smile, and then we see the Voyager turn, and the other ships start to escort it to Earth. And I wanted to see, well, what happened next? What happened to the Marquis, who are now obviously they're home? Would they be in prison? Would they get let off from their crimes? With 7 meters, it needed something else just to see how they settle back down.
I think they sort of showed that at the beginning of the 2-parter, though, in the when
the alternate future. You mean?
I know it didn't then technically happen, but we got of what
I see that
might happen.
Yeah,
I thought it was a wonderful episode. The ending a series is always really, really difficult. It's particularly a big series like that, when there's like a big overarching story, because you've got to wrap everything up.
Yeah,
I think that's one of the best examples of actually a series getting wrapped up. Just nice, and actually giving the fans to a degree what they actually wanted, which was just Voyager to get home.
Yeah,
which a lot of shows they wouldn't. A lot of shows they would have been trying to be clever, and they hinted at it. They even pushed us right to going, yeah, we're going to do what we always do, and then they went, no, not really. They got home. We're not going to do a Scott Bakula on you. We're not going to do a quantum leap.
At the end of that episode, there's a scene where they're in the transport conduit, and 7 and 9 says, like, we could go down this conduit, but we might end up going back to the Delta Quadrant.
Wasn't a problem.
So there we go. All right, you back? Did it pause for a second? Okay, can you see me? Uh-oh. Am I not there?
I can't really hear you, Mike. My internet might be the issue, though. But actually, I think it's come back.
All right. You're a bit fuzzy, but I can
have kids here playing Xbox and things.
No, mine are the same. All right, let's wait a second. Give it a second. All right.
Right, I'm back. Oh, 1 second.
I'm in the Twilight Zone. Blimey.
Right, there we go.
There we go. Off the cuff. There we go. That's fine.
Things and nuisance. So, yeah. So, what were we saying? What were you saying? Sorry, because I lost you completely for a minute.
I think we were just talking about the end of Voyager, basically, and just how it was an alternate future, but they got home, and you sort of like the fact that we saw an alternate take on how they got home.
It actually wrapped it all up lovely.
Yeah.
Which I thought was great.
Yeah.
So, there are a couple of other Voyager episodes. I love the Void episode. I loved in Voyager the way they explored, again, like they did in Deep Space Nine, and they did it just as well, really, that they explored what would happen to Starfleet and their big ideals when shit really hits the fan. And I always love that. They did that really well in the Void. They did that really well in the one that you mentioned, the Year of Hell.
Year of Hell, yeah.
And they did that in Deep Space Nine as well. The Voyagers, they're lost in this void of space, and they've got two choices, basically, that they can either pirate a bunch of other ships and try to survive what's happening, or they can band together, and they end up banding together, and they save the they end up saving themselves. I like it when we explore the warts and all version of Star Trek that we don't always get.
It's interesting. I was on Sci-Fanatics over the weekend, and we talked about Voyager and some of the best episodes. And two of the episodes I liked, even though they weren't the biggest mega kind of explosion things, but for good sci-fi concepts, the two that I like the best are from season 2, and they were Tuvix, which I just think was the purest science fiction Star Trek conundrum, possible problem. What do we do to solve this issue? With Neelix and Tuvok as a new being who they discover we could get them back, but I want to remain as I am, which is just classic science fiction. And another one which featured Michael McKean as the clown, which was the Thor. That was in
terrifying.
season 2. And that to me was a really, really powerful. It might not be the top tier you're talking about, but just for remembering just the quality of the idea, the way it was produced, the music in it, and the way it gave me that vibe. To me, these are real, maybe not as well known, but these to me are very top tier episodes in Star Trek, whether it be Voyager or any of the other stuff.
They're good episodes. I think that's a good jump into talking about the new Trek then, because I think this is what I'm talking about, in that some of these episodes of new Trek are good. I'm not saying that I'm not one of these people that go, all new Trek's rubbish, and some people just go, it's all rubbish. I'm not that.
No,
some of these episodes are great. I enjoyed the second season of Discovery. It was
the best season, this second season of Discovery. I've actually got a list of some of my favourite episodes, and most of season 2 of Discovery. Yeah.
So the only episode I can really say that I think was powerful, that did have that element of at the end of it, I have to sit and think about this a second, was Through the Valley of the Shadows, which is the season 2 finale, when Pike basically has to face up to his future, and he's got a choice basically where he can find out what's going to happen, or he can change it, but then somebody has to die. I thought that was Anson Mount is his best before he became a chef.
Yes,
and started cooking every 5 seconds. This week on Star Trek, I'm making a lovely flambe.
Mind you, Cisco used to make jambalaya and all sorts of things in DS9. So.
Not in every single.
No, episode. Not in every episode. No, okay, I can see that.
But that was a and actually, I enjoyed that season, even though I thought at times it was a bit stupid. I did enjoy the season on a whole. I wish they hadn't done it in lots of ways, because I didn't want them to bring the Enterprise into it, but they did, and the way they did was okay.
I gave a big eye roll when we saw the Enterprise fly at the end of season 1 of Discovery, and I thought, no, don't go. And also they redesigned it from the original one. I mean, it's nice. The continuity's never been in new Trek. Yep. They've had to reimagine it, revisualize.
Yeah, they have.
I've got used to it now, but it took me a long time to get used to the fact that, I know we haven't really sort of focused on Enterprise, but when they did In a Mirror Darkly, the 2-part Mirror Universe episode, it was really clever, because we saw the Defiant come back from the TOS episode, exactly how it looked, and it looked good. The lighting was good, even though it's a very old-fashioned design from the 60s. They made it look good, and this is one thing with New Trek which I've got used to, but I had to take a while to get used to, that they are now revisualizing canon aspects of Star Trek between 1966 to 2005, and that's one thing that it took me a little while to adjust. But that's not really the top. That's slightly sort of off topic about the best episodes. Can I just say?
It does remind me of a Deep Space Nine episode, though, that I think maybe isn't top tier, but I think is in the conversation because of how clever it was. And I did write it down. Trials and Tribulations.
Tribulations.
So they actually went back and visited the Trouble with Tribbles episode.
Yes, yeah, they actually went back.
That was a lot of nostalgia. It was a lot of, oh my God, it's Captain Kirk, and there's a lot of funny jokes. I loved some of the Klingon jokes and things in there. But it was such a well done and clever episode that it deserves to be in that conversation. And again, it's not something New Trek has ever done. Enterprise did it a couple of times, and I thought, like you said, we were going to get a whole season of the Mirror Universe as well if we'd got season 5. We were going to get virtually an entire season.
I thought it was going to go over the Romulans on season 5.
There was talk about, or at very least several episodes.
Oh, okay. Maybe they were like kids season 4. They're like 3 or 4 episodes clumped together in little arcs and things like that.
Yeah, we were going to see more of it anyway. So, and we'd have got to see the refit in Enterprise. Oh. We mentioned the final episode of Enterprise, though. Before we talk about New Trek again, if that had been just a season finale and not the series finale, I don't think it's a bad episode.
Do you know what?
The problem is it's the series finale.
I've always liked the episode. I've always liked it. But I think that it was called Terror Prime was the 2-parter before that. And a lot of people consider that like even though it wasn't, it was more like the series finale because it was the beginning of the formation of the Federation. And then, but to have the Next Generation, I heard all the actors were really upset when this episode was filmed because they didn't have planned. They got cancelled during the production of season 4, and so they had to rush around and get this series finale. And this is why it wasn't done as well as most people would have hoped. As you say, if it had been a season finale, if season 4 and then it had a season 5, I think it would have been quite popular.
And the problem was that it brought in Jonathan Frakes and Marina Sirtis, and I could completely understand the actors from the series. They're like going, "No, this is our show. What the hell are these guys doing?"
And they're just holiday
our show.
It was like, it was a shame. It was a shame that they did it.
Hugely.
But I think they did it partly because it was the end of 18 years consecutive production of Star Trek from 1987 to 2005, something like that. And I think this is partly why they wanted to sort of bring what they'd created in Star Trek full circle under the Rick Berman era at that point. I don't know. It's a shame, but I still enjoy it. But they should have killed off Trip Tucker either. I think that's a bit of a dark maybe.
Well, there's an argument to say that he's not really dead. But
it's a holiday
Trip lives. And you never know. We may still get to see. There's massive rumours that Scott Bakula's in season 5 of Discovery. Might be in Strange New Worlds.
I can't see that happening somehow.
Well, he's supposed to be dead by Strange New Worlds.
He'd be about 120, wouldn't he? He'd be quite old by then.
He dies 5 years before Strange New Worlds airs. But you could do a flashback where Anson Mount as a slightly younger man meets him, because there's about 15 or 20 years when Anson Mount was in the Federation where Archer was still alive. So they could do something where we see him slightly younger. But Deep Space Nine did holodeck episodes better than any other series did. Yeah. The TNG tend to get a little bit of a habit of something's gone horribly wrong with the holodeck. And we're all in trouble, and it'll all be okay. But the Moriarty episode with the holodeck was brilliant.
Yes, which they had a sort of loose connection in Picard as well. The actor came back, which was nice to see. I'll just very quickly say, I remember one of my favourite DS9 episodes is an episode called Hard Time with Bashir, where he's in the prison, and he's been in his prison for 20 years. He's given his memories. And he comes back and he's really scarred. And I've always been a big O'Brien fan. I think Colin Meaney's a great actor and everything I've seen him in. And I've just always thought that. And again, it's not a top tier one, but I just had to give that episode a shout out because it's always been one of my favourites. So I suppose we should go back to obviously contemporary Trek.
Contemporary. So I will disclaimer. Boop boop boop. For one, this is all about opinion. So when I'm saying that I don't like something, I don't like it. So let's leave that there. Okay. But because I've got my own YouTube channel, it means I'm right for the things of this conversation. Anyway, no, it's not. This is a conversation. It's opinion. I don't think any new Trek has got anywhere to the heights of some of the episodes we've just talked about. I said, like, Through the Valley of the Shadows, bloody good episode. Okay. 1 or 2 episodes of Strange New Worlds have been really, really good. But not that I would remember in 20 years. And I think that's the thing. And I am not comparing this to other shows at the moment, because I actually think Strange New Worlds is one of the best sci-fi shows on TV at the moment. I really like it.
It's a really solid series, yeah.
There's a lot, and there's some really good sci-fi on at the moment, particularly like Apple and stuff. There's some really good sci-fi.
Foundations one.
Yeah, and I think it's great. I just don't think, if you compare it to the great episodes of the original series, TNG, Voyager, Deep Space Nine, and even some of the Enterprise episodes, which Enterprise did have some great episodes. Broken Bow, the first 2 episodes I thought were brilliant. I loved Regenerations. There were some good episodes.
Oh, the Borg one. Yeah. What do you think of the Xindi arc? Did you like the Xindi arc though in season 3?
I didn't hate it. It kind of made sense following DM following 9/11. But yeah, no, I didn't hate it. It was all right. I thought it had some great episodes, and I thought it had some weak episodes.
Okay.
I just wish we'd, at the end of that arc, they'd have done the refit then, when the Enterprise was battered, and then I think we'd have got a 5th season.
Yeah, it's one of those things you always sort of wonder what would happen if they made a season 5. It's such a shame.
Yeah. But I just think they just needed. I don't think they were far. They were getting great numbers. They just needed that little bit extra to give it a kick up backside. And I think something like the that would have worked.
Didn't someone who worked at Paramount really couldn't stand science fiction? He was really out against Star Trek anyway. I can't think of it. I seem to have heard that somebody wanted it gone, but that might have been something I read. It might have been something.
No, there was one of the top executives at Paramount at the time thought that Star Trek was, all science fiction, to be fair, was too expensive.
Okay.
And it didn't get the numbers, but it was the sort of the birth, or it was sort of the height of the popularity of like reality TV. So one executive that then left just before New Trek was basically saying, why are we making this massively expensive TV show when we can make this other show for pence and everyone watches it? It's more
popular. It's down to ratings, isn't it? Of course it is.
Yeah. So even though the ratings were good, it wasn't the same. Right. So yeah, but I mean, somebody mentioned Memento Mori as a truly great episode of Strange New Worlds, and that is the episode when we first sort of see the Gorn attack, and dragged in, and it's a horror episode.
Yes.
I don't think that's. It might be a good episode. It might be a fun episode. It was scary even. It was not a great episode of Star Trek.
It's funny because I've made a list of some of my favourite episodes of Discovery, Picard, and Strange New Worlds. And I was trying to think of ones to sort of say, well, look, this is on the level as we wanted to talk about today. And looking at the list I've got of some of my favourites, I can see what you're saying about the fact that, but I mean, the question.
I was right. No, sure, that'll do. I was right. Woohoo!
But that's it. Bye-bye. Nice to be on there. We'll see you later. But what I was going to ask is that if you if you'd have watched all of Star Trek now in 2023, obviously it'd take a lot of time to watch them all, rather than watching them whenever you first watched Star Trek many, many years ago, probably, would your perception of, because there was a big gap between 2005 and 2017 when Trek came back, and Discovery started in such a bad way, an unrecognizable way, that it put it in a negative context? Or do you think it is that the writing is just simply just not as good or as solid as it was in the old days?
I think there's an element. I think one of the things I honestly think is because there's only 10 episodes, expectations are higher, right? So you don't have the you don't have chance to do like filler episodes. Each episode has got to be spot on. And I think that's a problem. When you've got 24 episodes, if only 5 of them are brilliant, That's all. Though people will remember those 5 episodes and they
Yeah.
forget. I mean, we've done a list here of about 10 or 15 episodes from the original series, 3 series that we love, but we're talking about 700 something episodes of Star Trek.
Yes, it is.
When we've only had 20 episodes of Strange New Worlds, and I can honestly say we haven't had a truly classic episode. Oh, except the musical, obviously. I mean, duh. Stupid episode.
I like the musical. It was good.
No.
Yes.
No, again, it's opinion, but you're wrong. Expectations are higher. I keep saying that, like, this is one of my irritations with the musical. Star Trek real estate is very, very valuable because we only get 10 hours of it a year. We may not even get 10 hours of it a year for the next couple of years, thanks to the strikes. We may only get, we might not get any new Star Trek next year at the moment.
Discovery Season 5.
Live action. Well, after Discovery Season 5, it might be 2 years again until we get Strange New Worlds.
Yeah, I know.
So, the real estate is very, very valuable. It's got to be better. And I just think expectations are higher. I actually don't think the writing is bad most of the time. Sometimes you do. I do wonder. Sometimes I wonder.
What are they doing? Yeah, what are they thinking?
But like the first episode of second season 2, and the pilot, whose name has just gone out of my head. I love her. She's my favourite character. I forgot her name's gone out, with the hair and the shaved things.
Ortega's, is it?
Ortega.
Yeah.
She's and she's given Spock, what's your thing? Pike said, hit it, and Picard said, make it so. What's your thing? And she forced him to do that, and I'm like, you've really got more important things to think about right now. Stop being stupid. And I don't think Star Trek had bits like that, except in a couple of the movies. I think they did. I'm thinking about in Star Trek when they fight the face pulling guys.
The
Insurrection.
Yeah.
Some of the writing in Insurrection was bad. But generally speaking, I don't think the writing was much better, because it was so rushed as well in TNG and stuff. Some of the writing was pretty shoddy, but we forget the really bad episodes and we focus on the amazing episodes. But with New Trek, even the Discovery, they've actually only had 40 episodes of Discovery up till now. That's only 2 seasons of another series.
Actually, I think they've had more, about 50, 55, because the first few seasons are like, season 1 was 15 episodes, season 2 was 14 episodes.
Okay, so we've had a little bit
it's
more.
A bit more than that, yeah. But it's even so, as you say, it's still a lot
2.5 episodes, 2.5 seasons.
Yeah, exactly.
TNG didn't get good until the second season. They'd got basically 48 episodes under their belt before it got good.
Yeah. Yeah,
so
what you're saying is that potentially it might be a factor that it's not exactly the whole fault. It's the nature of the fact that current Star Trek, they just make a lot less. And of course, if you've got a lot more episodes, you're going to get a lot more chance of at least something sticking and becoming something really, really good. It puts the pressure on each episode to be really good. And of course, not every episode is going to be really good, because that's the law of averages. Because of the nature of the way that they do stuff contemporarily. That's pretty right.
But I would argue as well that because the flip side of that coin is, though, because they're only doing 10 episodes and they spend so much money on an episode, $8-9 million, they didn't used to spend anything like that on TNG before, and they were rushed. Scripts were arriving at the actors' doors the night before filming. They don't do that now. They have a lot longer to prepare. Those episodes should be better.
Because they had a lot more. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, I can agree with that.
And I'd argue it's not. And even Strange New Worlds, that I like on the whole, I thought the first season ended quite weakly. I thought this season started quite weakly, but then picked up. But on the whole, I really like it. I like the characters. The ship spins around a lot, but other than that, that's a little bit irritating. In the first season, they had that one shot, and it was so popular, so they just keep doing it. And it's getting a bit irritating. And the cooking's irritating. But But on the whole, I really love the show. But I have to say, my favourite Star Trek at the moment is the animated stuff.
Now, it's interesting because I like the animated. I've only just finished season 3 of Lower Decks, literally this last weekend. And I like it. I love the episode with where they went to DS9. I thought that was a great crossover. For some reason, I don't know why, but animated stuff, it never seems to stick in my head so much. I kind of watch it and I like it, but then I always find it a bit forgettable, and I don't know why. Why is it because it's animated? Does it not stick with me? But it's just something about it.
No, true. And to be honest, it won't stick with me forever, but I think it's more Trekky. Trekgate makes a good point there that the burn in season 3, it was stupid. I actually thought they were really clever there. Put the Discovery in the future. I'm like, yes.
I was
actually want to see.
I was really disappointed with that future when they got there. It didn't work out for me at all.
And then we got into the future. We saw all this great technology, and as a geek, I love the technology. I love the ships. And they basically said the Federation's dead. I'm like, oh, for God's sake! I mean, you're so close. And so they ruined that for me. So I actually haven't seen a lot of season 4.
I keep forgetting you've not seen it all. I just assume you've seen it all. I mean, are you going to try and watch it before season 5's release? So at least you kind of, or you can just think, nah.
I might not watch season 5.
Really? That's all right. I will. So I'm okay.
I'll give it a go. I probably will, but it's probably going to be a TV show that I put on in the background while I'm working or something during the day. Not that I do that if my boss is watching. I just focus on work. I don't put TV on. I haven't watched Star Trek. I haven't watched all of Stargate Atlantis in the last 3 weeks. So I haven't got in the background.
Are you going to delete this live stream once you finish or saying that?
I'll just say I was lying for comedy effect.
Yeah. It was my idea. We sort of had this idea before we came on that I was going to say that.
Yeah. It's all very funny. But so I mean. I'll put it. I'll give it another go. Because there are bits of it I like, but my main problem with Discovery though is the characters aren't very good. They're very forgettable. The most interesting thing about Burnham is that her first name's Michael.
Good name.
That's it. I'm like, some people are kicking off about that. Going, why are they good at a boy's name? I'm not giving shit. It's just that's a name. That's fine. It's not a woke. It's not about gender. Nothing.
Well, unless they called him Michelle Burnham, they could have called him Michelle Burnham.
Yeah, and I like the tall dude with the
Saru. Now, Saru is to me the biggest Star Trek character in Discovery. I think the actor who plays, I can't think of his name, is really good. And I don't know whether he's. I think, like I said, they could have not they could have developed him a bit more. But he's the proper alien, sort of like looking at humanity from a different perspective kind of character, which you normally get in a Star Trek series. And I think for what he's done, he's actually done quite well. But he's the strongest character for me. But the rest of the characters are a bit kind of like forgettable, really. I mean, you've got Tilly.
I like that engineer they brought in towards the end, the shouty one. I quite like her.
I know the one. I can't think of her name. Yeah, she's got a bit of attitude, doesn't she? But she's quite funny.
Yeah, Trekgate's made another good point in there. So are the new Trek shows actually getting new fans and having fans come back? Generally speaking, I say no, not the way they hope for at Paramount anyway. The fans of new Trek is interesting, right? Because I've said a few times now, the fan base in Star Trek is divided. And I get people arguing with me, saying, no, it isn't. And I'm like, no, come on. I've got 26,000 subscribers now. A lot of them are Star Trek fans. They're all sci-fi fans.
Sure.
I get a lot of comments, and I see a lot of negativity towards Star Trek, as much as love towards it. There's a divided fan base. But the numbers don't lie. A lot of people watch Star Trek. It does well. It gets on the Nielsen top 10 rating regularly now, which it did before. Discovery hasn't really ever done that, but the other new shows have. And it does seem that Discovery in particular has quite a young demographic. It's got new Trekkies, and that's not a bad thing. That's a great
thing. They're aiming for that. They're trying to entice younger people to get involved with it, I think.
Which is where Academy is going to come from, because they want to continue that thing of a younger audience.
Yeah, that's what I think too.
But would you agree that the Trekkies, traditional Trekkies, Brannon Braga, us Trekkies, 40-somethings, are quite divided on Star Trek? at the moment.
Absolutely. I think that the biggest unification of our sort of generation of Trekkies has been Picard season 3. I think that I know that you were okay with it. I know you obviously.
Oh, I loved it first time. First time I watched it, I absolutely adored it. I then watched it again, and I'm like,
it wasn't so good.
okay.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that for whatever, obviously nothing's perfect. I still think from what they did, bringing back all those characters, all the storylines, and loads of things from the last 30 years, all sorts of things, which then when you watch the old show again, there are sort of further consequences. I just still think that did so well for uniting most people, especially the Rick Berman, us oldie Trekkies kind of thing. I don't know how popular Picard has been with the younger, new generation Trekkies. I would have thought some of them, it would be a bit over the heads because a lot of the storylines, they wouldn't know about Data, and Data was once an android and now he's like a synthetic and things like that.
No,
and
it was
what's this Enterprise D thing, and it's like, but again, when you've got a series which has been going for heading towards 60 years, you're going to have generations of Trekkies, and we all, we're going to like different aspects of it. It's such a big thing now. There's so many different. There's 13. Was it 13 movies? And we've got about 8 live-action TV series. We've got about 3 animated series. Yeah. It's never going to please everybody. Nothing will. The same as old Trek.
Well, you shouldn't.
No,
you shouldn't try to.
No. So that's what I'm saying. So, but I still think with regard to us, for me, Discovery is the. I mean, most people. I have to say this. I think that most people would agree that Discovery is probably one of the weakest live-action series. Again, even Enterprise isn't that popular, which I'm surprised about. I quite like that. Strange New Worlds, at least for me, is definitely more like standalone episode Trek. They've got a great actor with Anson Mount. They've got some great sort of like bridge crew, and it works.
Great character. The guy who plays Spock is brilliant. The Blade plays the woman who plays O'Hague is brilliant.
Yeah. So
Nurse Chapel's great.
So I think that nothing's ever going to be 100% appreciated, but I think that after the real bad start of Discovery season 1, I think they've really course corrected. They've really looked at their early mistakes, and I look forward to what comes next. I'm not bothered about Section 31 sort of TV movie particularly. It just doesn't. It'd be alright as a one-off, but I'm not that bothered. The Academy series. It's again that's going to be like Star Trek 90210 as far as I can see, and I'm 50 years old, so it's a bit beyond my age group. Please,
it might be great. I'm going to go into that with an open mind, but
Star Trek Legacy. If they can make that with Terry Matalas, who I still think has done so much in a positive way in the last year or so, then that's what I'm hoping for. Please, let's have Strange New Worlds, 7 seasons, whatever that be. A Star Trek legacy sort of thing with maybe some of the bridge crew of the Enterprise G and some crossovers for the next generation. 25th century era Trek as well. Early 25th. That era after all the stuff from Voyager, DS9 and TNG, which is that's what I'd like that era to continue and get crossovers
It's the era it should be in.
That's the one. I don't want it in the 32nd. I don't want Discovery. Because Strange New Worlds. The problem with Strange New Worlds is that it's tied. It's completely stuck in continuity. You know that Spock's not going to die in the next episode because he's, that's the one thing. What's that? Yeah. New fans hate Jake.
New fans hate that I call it in the Star Trek 90210. I actually started a hashtag Star Trek 90210.
You hate that, do you? I said that. So what, you don't like that being said?
No, I love it. I'm pretty sure.
You like it? Oh, sorry. Oh, okay.
But no, new Trek fans hate that I keep saying it. I do get some people saying
it. Oh, okay. And I've just said it now.
I'm pretty sure I started. Because I'm a trendsetter. Trendsetter. As soon as I heard it, I was just like, that sounds like Star Trek 90210, and it just stuck. It's and if new Trek fans, they moan at me for it. I don't care. It's how I feel. But I keep saying, I'm not going to kill a show before it comes out. I will give it a go. Because if it's got good characters and well acted and well written, it could be great. It depends what they then decide to set it up as, how they decide to move forwards with it. But if it is just setting like basically the new Starfleet Academy and them learning and keeping I think they're going to struggle.
They can make it a comedy like Police Academy. Police Starfleet Academy 90210. There we go.
You're not going to be allowed back if you keep saying stupid things. Um, don't put it out there because Alex Curtis might be watching. So don't put that out. Don't put that out there.
Okay. Well,
I don't put anything past them. At the end of the day, Star Trek is new Trek. Star Trek originally I think they're just trying to make the best sci-fi show they could.
Yeah.
New Trek, and I honestly think this is the core of the problem with New Trek. They keep making shows for different demographics. So they've made Discovery for a younger audience, so early 20s.
Yeah.
That's the demographic. They made Card for us, old farts. They made Strange New Worlds, and they tried to maybe make that for us as well, but trying to go across the generations.
Yeah, try to sort of spread it out there.
Yeah, they made Lower Decks as a comedy show, and again try to maybe go for a younger audience. And then they made Prodigy for kids.
Yeah.
Just make the best Star Trek show you can make. Don't aim at a demographic. Just make a sci-fi show that makes sense and is a good Star Trek sci-fi show. And if it's good, people will come. And I honestly think that's a big problem with Star Trek, is that they have these metadata in their head when they make it. Let's make a show for these people. Because no, just make the best show you can.
They're very, very cautious. What's happened is they're very cautious, and they over evaluate the way that they think a series could be successful. So this is why you get these people who say, well, look, as you say, let's make a series for people in their late teens or early 20s, or, as you say, just make good quality science fiction storylines or arcs, or whatever, with good characters, which should be enjoyable for people of all ages. It's like all the Picard F-bombs and stuff. I thought to myself, I mean, my kids are old enough that they could watch it, but if they'd have been like 5 or 6, and they'd watched some of the other series, I wouldn't have let them see Picard, because I wouldn't want them hearing that sort of bad language at a young age. Yeah. And I think myself, and I never liked swearing in Star Trek. I know it sounds like I don't like swearing as a principle, but it goes back to the 23rd century, where colourful metaphors that Spock said, because in the era of Star Trek, you didn't need to swear. It wasn't something you did very often. And they I didn't like that aspect. It
started with once or twice. I think when Data got his emotions and they're about to crash, and it just turns to me and goes,
classic.
That worked. That was
that worked. That was fine. I didn't mind that one.
But I think because it worked so well, they then did it in Insurrection. And I was sick of running from these bastards. And then he did the joystick, an Atari joystick, and flew the ship in 3-dimensional space, a joystick.
Yes. Well, yeah.
Figure that out. Try and fly a plane with just one joystick and see how far you get. They just overdid it, and then they made a stream service. Goes, we can swear, great, let's swear.
Yeah, I didn't like that. I
didn't make it. It watered it all down. It didn't work.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. My battery's about to die because I've had to switch over to the phone.
Oh yeah. All right. Children. Okay. Thank you very much.
And I think we've covered that. I think we're in agreement that I'm right. I
do agree.
You came into this wrong.
I looked into some episodes. Actually, I didn't shout them all out, but all the episodes I chose, I don't think any of them stood up. Given the examples, some of the top tier episodes we talked about on the other series tonight. So
and I think
I'm still here for it.
Fair reasons why that is.
Yeah.
That it's not as simple as that. It's just not as good. I do think there are, at the end of the day, if you've got 900 something episodes of Star Trek, and some of them aren't amazing, and we just don't have that yet with New Trek. But I honestly don't think there are any New Trek episodes that stand up to a couple of these episodes we've talked about, and that's a shame. But that doesn't mean it's not good. We've had some good, really good New Trek.
Just not that elite.
We've not quite had that great episodes of Star Trek. I always compare this to bands, right? So my favourite band is the Foo Fighters.
Oh, yeah.
Stone Age t-shirt, but I'm a Foo's fan. Okay. The Foo Fighters have never had that amazing single, right? They've never had that song that everybody knows. Like Nirvana before them with Dave Grohl had Smells Like Teen Spirit. Everybody knew it. It was the song of a generation almost. Foo Fighters have never had that. But instead, what they've done is they've banged out 8 out of 10 albums just over and over and over again. Just good albums, boom, 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 and just been consistently brilliant. But they've never had that stratospheric hit.
Right.
New Trek just hasn't had that stratospheric episode. It just hasn't had that episode that is just head and shoulders above everything else at the moment that people actually do. And even though Picard season 3 was great, I loved it. It's the most excited I've got about Star Trek in years. I was getting up early on a Thursday morning to watch it. It wasn't great. It was good. And it was only the nostalgia that excited me. It was only the nostalgia that...
I think it was one of the highest levels that we've had in New Trek.
I agree with
you. I did like it a lot, actually.
I haven't got that excited about any of the other Star Treks.
Yeah, that's
not going out of my way, like literally to set my alarm in the morning to watch it.
But do you think eventually we will get that top tier, or do you think that maybe with Picard season 3, that's as good as it's going to get?
I'm worried about what the plans are.
Okay.
I think Section 31 could be brilliant.
Do you? Okay.
Yeah, I really think that could be really, really good.
They've got
so many possibilities with that.
Okay.
They could go anywhere with that. They're completely. There's no handcuffs. They could do anything. So it could be astonishing. They've got a really good director. The writers are excellent. So I think they could do something really, really good with that.
Okay.
I'm very worried about Star Trek 90210. And I'm very worried they might not do Legacy. I'm very worried about Strange New Worlds, to be honest.
It's the writer's strike. I think if this wasn't going on, I think we'd have a bit more confidence as to what potentially is going to be coming up. But with all this uncertainty, I mean, I think we're all worried about anything really coming up.
Yeah.
You know, nothing's certain. So.
Well, the rumor I've heard more than once now from a couple of sources in and around Paramount is that Strange New Worlds will end after season 3, and we'll get Legacy.
Okay.
In a way, I hope they don't do that, but it would explain why they've brought Kirk in so early.
To rush him in. That makes sense.
Yeah, but basically, apparently, the plan was always for 3 seasons, like Picard.
Right.
Because they were aware that the closer they get to the original series, the more complicated it gets.
And the more they'll be inhibited because of continuity with the future. Okay.
Well, they've obviously shown that already, though, that they do not give a flying F about continuity. They don't care.
Hello, the Gorn. Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Well, like I say, Kirk coming in, as he has done. How many more... I joked about this the other week. How many more excuses are they going to come up with for Kirk to appear on that ship? Is it going to be like he's turned up, I've left my keys. I can't remember my keys.
He's there to see his brother, though, isn't he? He don't want to see his bro.
Yeah, but he's not supposed to know Pike.
Well, no,
I think they mentioned it in Menagerie that they'd met.
He met in the music when he was promoted to a fleet commander. He met him once.
Yeah.
And he's already met him 5 times. So, yeah.
And the J.J. Abrams movies that made them friends and made him a mentor. And it's like Kurtzman thinks that... I actually do wonder if Strange New Worlds is Kurtzman Star Trek, and it's not. It's actually a different universe.
It's all, yeah, I mean, people say that. And some people say that it's the Borg sphere that went back in time from Nemesis that caused a slightly different alternate timeline. And people are all saying sorts of things, but it doesn't fit in, does it?
It's because the timeline's all screwed up. It's all messed up.
Yeah. I know.
It's still good Star Trek, but as a Trekkie, it irritates me.
Yeah.
It's like so. But anyway, love it. Let's have you back on, Mike, in a week or two, and let's talk some Stargate. We were talking about it before we came on live, and we'll have it a bit as a recap. Chat.
Absolutely.
I've got I'm talking Stargate at the weekend with somebody new that I've come across. But let's get you back on in a couple of weeks and talk.
Love to come back. Thank you. That'd be great. Look forward to it.
And as an idea for your podcast, why don't you do a Stargate episode and I'll come over? Stargate video and I'll come over.
Do you know, we've reviewed all the episodes, all the actual specific series, but we could do a compilation of all just Stargate as it is. Yeah, come back.
Have you done the movie?
Definitely.
Have you done the movie?
No, we haven't done the movie.
Let's do the movie.
Right. Okay. We'll sort something out. Definitely.
Great. Guys, everyone in the comments, thank you so much. I apologize again that my internet let us down a little bit halfway through there and I had to switch to my phone. But these things happen when you've got teenagers that have got computer games and don't go to bed when they're told. But
Tell me about it.
What are you going to do? At some point, I will get better internet. But no, thank you so much. And Mike, tell us about the Solo One podcast quickly, where we can find you.
Yes, we're on YouTube. My channel's called Code Club. It's quite popular, 150k subs. We talk about all sorts of science fiction, TV series, movies, and just come along and we just have a laugh and just talk and talk. So come over and check us out.
We will do. So, are you on 150,000 now?
Well, nearly, but about 800 away.
God, you were only like just over 100k when we first started chatting. That's not been that long. So you've gone off.
It's all thanks to you. It's all thanks to you, I think.
Yeah, I know. You're very welcome. If you could put a link on your community page to my channel and push.
I already have done. I've done that. I will do it again. Definitely.
Do it more often.
And vice versa.
Not bad at all, sir. But yeah, you work hard on these channels, and it's nice when it pays off.
It is, absolutely.
Because there's a lot of people working very hard on YouTube, and never get anywhere thanks to the way that YouTube works. But so yeah, no, you should be proud of your little blue square that you got. I will never get one, and I'm okay with it.
You'll get one.
No, man. I honestly, if I got 100,000 subscribers, I would shit myself every time I went live.
So, well, look forward to that in the future.
Well, if I had like 1,000 people, I've had 300 people watching a video once live, talking about Stargate and stuff, and it went up to 300. And man, I just kept.
You get a bit nervous. You just got to go.
Start Jesus Christ, there's actually 300 people watching me right now. Oh my God! I mean, there's 30 people watching us right now, which isn't bad at all.
Yeah,
we get over 100 regular, but 300 people watching is stressful. You just have to not look at it. But if I got like 10,000 people watching a video, I'd be just like, don't make a mistake, don't make a mistake, don't make a mistake. So,
well, if that ever happens, I'd love to watch it and sort of like see how you go through it. It might be interesting.
Kerry, thank you so much.
Say that it will happen. There we go.
Maybe, you never know. But at 50k, I've got to get a tattoo, and 100,000k, I said I'd strip. So we'll see. So
that's going to happen next year, is it?
So don't share the channel. Anyway, Mike, thank you so much, mate. Have a lovely evening. We'll see you in a couple of weeks, and we'll talk some Stargate. Guys, thank you so much, everybody. See you soon.